Know that you're never alone. Okay, so in Daniel chapter 3, we move on. The king Nebuchadnezzar, he is quite a guy, Nebuchadnezzar. He is an egomaniac. He's a narcissist. If you can say bad things about a leader, it probably applies to Nebuchadnezzar. I mean, as bad as you think our Congress is, right? Nebuchadnezzar has them beat. And so Nebuchadnezzar, he sets up this statue. He builds a statue. It's 90 feet tall. And he decrees that everybody has to worship this statue of himself. Now, that all sounds great. The whole having people adore you, worship you thing, other than just how horrible it is. It sounds wonderful, doesn't it, to have people just bow down when they hear your theme song, right? It's kind of like at a baseball game, the batter has his walkout music, right? This is Nebuchadnezzar's walkout music. Every time the music plays, people are supposed to turn to a 90-foot statue and bow down and worship. But some of Nebuchadnezzar's officials know about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they know that these guys are committed. They've already proven it, right? They've set up this alternate diet and they won, and so they know that they're committed to following their God, the God they serve from back in Judah. And so they help Nebuchadnezzar write legislation that's going to trap these guys, and then they watch out for them. And so it's interesting to me. Let's look at Daniel chapter 3. Daniel chapter 3 and verse 16. That's on page 255 of the story. Here's the response, right? So there's a threat. There's a punishment, and you know how it is. You have law, you break the law, you have punishment. And the punishment for this one is that story we all know so well, right? It's the fiery furnace. And everybody in the land knows if you don't bow when the music plays, you don't bow and worship the statue of Nebuchadnezzar, he's going to kill you in a painful and horrible way. And so here's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's response to that. This is Daniel 3, beginning verse 16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to him, King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. Now, I think this is interesting, and here's why. They defy with absolute courage, but they do it respectfully. They're not smart alecky. They don't curse the king. They don't fight his soldiers. They're told what the law is, and they respond back courageously, confidently, but courteously. Very much like we see in the New Testament. I think it was Peter and John who stood before the Sanhedrin and said, I know you've said we can't preach, but that's what we've been called to do, so that's what we have to do. It's like they said, I'm sorry, we respectfully decline. And so the music plays, and their enemies who are out to get them, they see them not bow down, and so they snitch on them, they turn them in. And they weren't hiding it, but they still told on them, right? They got ratted out. And the soldiers gathered them up. And Nebuchadnezzar is so angry about this that he demands that the fire be stoked 7 times hotter. And it's so hot, this fire, this pit, this furnace, whatever it is, that when the soldiers go to throw the 3 young men in, the fire's so hot that it kills the soldiers. And yet Nebuchadnezzar looks into the fire and sees the 3 young men walking around. kills the soldiers. 3 young men are walking around. But to confuse the king further, he says, hey, how many did we throw in? Wasn't it 3? He said, I see a 4th man walking. He said he looks like the Son of God, or a son of the gods. And I don't think Nebuchadnezzar understood what he was seeing. But I think we get it. That's what theologians call a Christophany. Now, all that means is that a vision, an appearance of Jesus Christ before his actual incarnation at the beginning of the New Testament. So this is the pre-incarnate Jesus walking around in the fire with the 3 Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now here's the thing, right? Let's get a little application of this. Is that Jesus walked with them through their time of trouble, their time of pain, their time of difficulty. And Jesus does the same for us.